And here we go. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger, roll, Atlantis.
Water towers fly! Yes!
Echo down to nominal.
Flight downside FD off. Bring in FD off. Off. It's orange! 145!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage.
Look at this!
Put that in the big bag, Eagle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
The methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You read? Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Against initial odds, we are live from Slick 40 from Cape Canaveral with a Falcon 9 on the pad in the countdown and just 30 minutes away from launching Starlink Internet satellites. Initially, the weather didn't look that great, but now it looks like we might get a launch today, which might not be the only launch today, but more on that later. My name is Adrian Ball, and I'm here for NSF for today's launch broadcast as your host. And I am not alone here. I have amazing people in the channel here that will help me to make the next 30 minutes for you very entertaining. Alex, do I have you in the studio?
You have me indeed. I hope so, at least.
I have you very loud and clear. Perfect. That's, of course, Alex, a writer for NASASpaceflight. And, of course, in the field, waiting for hours now for this launch, we have Max Evans. Max, how are you doing?
Hey, good morning, everybody. Man, it has just been... It's been one crazy morning. I mean, SpaceX has had us scratching our heads all night because we didn't see Falcon vertical at all. And then we saw the blinking pad lights come on. And then next thing we know, Falcon's vertical, and they're pushing for T0 at 8:20 a.m. this morning. So I guess we'll see if they can pull it off.
Yeah, it looks like they might. They might. We will give you an overview in just a bit. But before that, Patrick in the back channel also there, making sure we have a nice visuals and nice audio here and pushing all the buttons. Thank you, Patrick, as well. And just to give you a quick overview of what we are expecting to see today. This is Starlink Group 6-4, which will launch 22 Starlink version 2 mini satellites to LEO. It's just another Starlink mission. So far, we can now see a bit of frost, I think, on the rocket, which indicates that propellant loading has started. We are 28 minutes away from launch here, and yeah, it's another Starlink. But there is something special about this Starlink, right, Alex? Because we saw something days ago that made this more special, right?
Yeah, so this is what we believe is the first time that SpaceX is using Roberts Road to integrate payloads for missions. Because so far they have been using a facility that they have at the Cape, and we don't normally see payload fairings rolling in front of our Space Coast Live cameras, right? Because they're coming from the south, from the Cape side. Here, from Roberts Road, they actually need to go in front of the VAB, so they go in front of our Space Coast Live cameras. And so, we went back and kind of look at, if we were able to see this, and I think we have a video out there of that fairing of that payload fairing actually passing in front of the cameras with all the Starlink satellites on board and everything. So yeah, this is the first, or we think it is the first time they actually using that facility to be able to integrate payloads there. So really exciting, because more payloads, more better, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And how did they actually do it before? Like, where did they integrate these payloads before this became operational?
Yeah, so SpaceX has a facility at the Cape side, very close to Slick 40, this pad, to the south of this location, and that is, as I said before, is sort of like the reason why we know, or we think at least, that is the case, because this is a Starlink payload. Starlink payloads are integrated in at the payload processing facility down at the Cape. not at Kennedy Space Center, so they will have no reason at all to pass in front of the VAB unless it is coming from the KSC. Now there are payloads though that do pass in front of the VAB, but normally it is because they are these kind of payloads. Usually military payloads are integrated at Astrotech, which I think it is in Titusville. So they need to come from all the way there and through KSC to get to the launch pads. But this is obviously not that kind of payload. This is a Starlink mission, so we are very sure that it is not coming from Astrotech. It is coming from the Kennedy Space Center, from Roberts Road.
And before I go for Max to discuss a bit of weather here, I just want to point out that if you have more questions about this mission, or Starlink in general, or Falcon 9 in general, make sure to tag at NASASpaceflight in chat. This is where we will read your questions out here and try to answer them as best as we can. And also, Max, we had a bit of a weather miracle here, right? Because we went from like, yeah, no way this is launching to, well, apparently this is launching.
Yeah, that was the forecast was very strange. So earlier this morning, SpaceX had come out right when the rocket first went vertical on the pad, and they had announced that the weather was only 15% favorable with the forecast. And then, miraculously, maybe I think it was about an hour ago or less, SpaceX came out and announced the forecast had improved to 90% favorable, which might be the greatest pendulum shift in terms of weather forecasting for a rocket launch here in Florida, as far as my memory serves. So, I mean, the weather is absolutely gorgeous this morning. Crystal clear skies, a bit of a westward breeze. The sun is shining, and we are ready to see her fly.
Yeah, like we went from a mood, just to give you a bit of a background, like we went from a mood where we kind of all didn't believe they would go for this to suddenly very sure that they're going for this, because that's like, of course, we also watch all of this, and that was a mood swing. That was a very, very interesting situation, and I didn't expect it, and it's very cool to see that they have good odds to launch today, because of course we want to see rockets launch. And also, just to point out, this is not the only launch SpaceX is trying to do today, because later today they will try to launch the crew resupply mission to the International Space Station, which is about 4 hours later from this. And of course, there we go. That's the rocket on the pad. And of course, we will also stream that should it happen. So just to give you a bit of an overview of the day here, it will be a busy day for NSF. We will try to bring you all that you need to watch every Falcon 9 flight today. Let's hit a question here. Outdoorsman show asking, are these mini Starlink satellites, and are there any rideshare payloads? Alex.
Yeah, so these are Starlink V2 mini satellites. They are basically, there are 22 inside the payload fairing for this flight. And no, we don't think there are any rideshare payloads. It's actually pretty much up to the top right now. In terms of the performance capability of Falcon 9, that is pretty much all they can carry.
There we go. So there wouldn't be like that much space to just, I don't know, put a CubeSat at top of that without us noticing or getting like a payload reduction in terms of satellites.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You will need to probably remove a Starlink or two if you wanted to carry more rideshare payloads.
There we go. Jerwa here with the $20 super chat, and also a very regular member who always does that. With also a question here I want to make sure to ask. Will Starlink launch ever use the new second stage nozzle? And again, Jerwa, thank you for that super chat. Alex, would they ever consider using that new second stage nozzle for Starlink missions?
I will say with a 99.9% confidence that no, they probably will not use it on Starlink flights. Now, it's a SpaceX, right? They change plans more than some people change underwear, but it's not really a thing that you should see on Starlink flights, because these missions, they actually try to fill them up to the top with a Starlink satellite so that they can carry as much as they can on each flight. And that stubby stage 2 MVAC nozzle, what it produces is less performance on the upper stage, and so it is only carried on those missions that they actually have excess performance. So they are like, yeah, we can carry the shorter nozzle because we just can, because the mission allows it. Starlink missions, though, they are not those kind of missions. They are at the edge of the performance of Falcon 9. So I will say with 99.9% confidence that surely we'll not see that.
And just to point out, if you want to see the new nozzle, watch the CRS coverage later, because CRS, I believe, has the new nozzle, right?
Exactly. CRS, well, I will not be there, but probably you can get a more thorough explanation back on that one. But it is those missions where they have a spare performance. In past CRS missions, they did what is called a partial boost back burn, where they, after stage separation, they perform a boost back burn, but it doesn't go all the way back to the Cape. It just lands on the drone ship, but closer to shore. In the case of later in the day with CRS 28, it's not gonna do any boost back burn, but instead, it's gonna be, that performance will be taken by the second stage because it has less performance due to the stubby stage 2 MVAC nozzle. So that is pretty much what they're going to be doing. Instead of using that excess performance for the short boost back burn, it's going to be instead a downrange landing. And there we can see the T-minus 20-minute vent that indicates the end of the stage 2 RP1 load. So and really shortly we're going to see the LOX load.
Yeah, that means they're basically now in preparation for also the LOX load at T-minus 16 minutes, right? For the second stage. So that's good. We are progressing in the countdown, and that's what we want to see here. We want to see a smooth and nice countdown all the way through T0. So that's good. Jawa here also coming through with the 5 Red Team memberships gifted. If you received one of these, make sure to thank Jawa in chat. And also, Jawa, thank you so much. I hope people enjoy the perks they get with this, including some very cool photos they can now access on the NSF YouTube channel. Thank you so much. Larry Brown asking, 2 launches in 4 hours. Is that a record? Is that a record?
Oh, geez.
It may be for SpaceX, certainly. I mean, they haven't launched 2 in 1 day here at the Cape yet. But I don't remember what the time differential was back when Project Gemini was flying between Atlas and Titan. So it could be. I'm not sure.
Okay, so I'm trying to, because I don't have it written down. I'm really sorry. So
all good.
The shortest time between 2 launches by SpaceX, like any 2 launches, it is 4 hours and 12 minutes between Starlink Group 2-8 and the launch of the pair of satellites SES-18 and SES-19. That was just a couple of months ago, in March. And how much is it this one?
3 hours, 3 hours and 52 minutes.
So it will be for just like 20 minutes.
Yeah, it would be a record by like 20 minutes. So we figured that out.
Yeah, I think at least from Florida by SpaceX between 2 Florida launches, because these were like a Vandenberg launch and a Florida launch later. In this case, it's going to be both from Florida, so it's going to be a record for them from Florida, and it's not been done since the Gemini program, as Max mentioned. So it is something that we haven't seen from Florida for like years and years and years.
And that's a very cool modern era of space where we just see 2 launches on the same day in a matter of hours from the same coast. Very, very cool, I think. 250 by the park with the £5 or $6.23 super chat here. Thank you so much, and I'm just sending a smiley face to you back. So Chris W here asking, do you expect SpaceX to put more V2 minis on after they had issues on the first batch? Well, the first part of the answer is they're doing that because they're doing it right now. They are launching V2 minis. But did we ever get any confirmation or like any updates on the whole mishap with the first batches of the V2 minis, Alex?
Well, we already saw them launching, sort of like a fixed batch a while ago. We actually saw them launching twice. They've launched 6.2 and 6.3, and this is the 6.4 mission. Someone asked what the 6.4 meant and everything. it's the way that I usually reply to that, it's good question and then like silence, because it's like
There's no deep meaning.
exactly, there's no deep meaning there. It's just like group 6. That's one way of them talking about these kind of Sonic V2 mini satellite launches to the second generation constellation of Starlink, and then Look 4 is just sort of the mission number, but it's never about the order of launches, because they're doing 4, but I think the next one is gonna be like 6-15 or something. It's a whole thing. So don't try to find logic on all of this.
I remember when the whole Starlink launches started, there was a fun moment for everybody keeping track of it, because they started in order and then suddenly it was like, yeah, this is 1-13, which is the 6th launch, and like it went off the rails very fast. It was very funny to observe. So, David's fan asking, with all of these live streams, will there be anything this evening UK time? Just to give you a quick overview of what we are planning today here at NSF. We are doing this launch, of course, the Starlink Group 6-4. Then we will be live for CIS SpaceX 28, which will be about 3 hours and 50 minutes after this launch. So that's also planned on our agenda. And also there's an episode of NSF Live coming later in the evening. Where we will talk about the news of the week and just give you another opportunity to ask us questions about anything you want to ask us. So you have 3 NSF streams over the day. So very busy day here at the NSF office. We don't have an office, by the way. SA here with the $9.99 super chat. In I think GA. What state is GA again?
Georgia.
There we go. Thank you. In Georgia, on the way down to Florida, any launches this week? Besides today, I mean, there's a good chance there's a Starlink later this week, right, Alex?
Yeah, so there's one. There's Starlink 511 again. They don't make any sense because the previous one, I think it was like 5.9 or something. So they don't make sense. But yeah, there's one on Friday. That is the one that I was mentioning, and that's pretty much it. There's not any other launch from Florida next week. So you gotta go on Friday, or otherwise you're gonna miss it.
Yeah, it right now looks like there might be a very busy end of this month, maybe. And also there's of course the Omnius Delta for Heavy, which still is coming maybe later this month. Right now, I think targeting June 21st.
Yeah.
But it's not next week. It's coming closer though, and I'm looking forward to that because, as you might know, I kind of like that rocket. I think that's a good way to phrase it. Let's look at more questions here. A question of the Vandenberg transporter where I don't have an answer to, and I will just ask it to Alex and see if he knows. I thought I would get my question earlier. Why does Vandenberg use the old transporter erector? Is this a if it's not broken, don't fix it situation?
I think pretty much that's the case. In the case of Slick 40, they had to repair it after MO6, so they just upgraded it to the throwback maneuver thing that they do now. But yeah, Slick 4 East, Vandenberg, they seem to be doing well either way with the old method. And frankly, they were doing good turnaround times for Slick 40 as well. Back in the day, like they had a couple of launches like within 10 days or so. So it's not that big of a deal because for Vandenberg they don't need like 5 days turnaround, which is basically what they've done from Slick 40, right? So yeah, it's good enough for them.
Yeah, Max, how is it to see like a launch a week right now, or even more from the Cape? Like, I bet it's mad.
I have to be completely honest with you. Like everyone here on the Space Coast has become completely spoiled, and if there's more than I think 5 days in between launches, we feel it's been a very long time. That's just, I guess that just comes with the territory. We've become so spoiled with the cadence between Starlink and everything else happening. It's so strange. I was just having this conversation with a friend of mine yesterday, and if a week passes without a launch, it feels like it's been an eternity.
Yeah, as you have the two Europeans here on call, I can tell you that's not the case here. It's not like we are not there at weekly launches yet. We're getting close with like one a year from another continent, but we are getting close.
Same, but different.
Yeah, it's same. Very painful. Let's look at some more questions here. We're coming up on 11 minutes before T0. What does net mean in launch schedules? Oh, I can take this. Net does mean not earlier than, which basically refers to the very schedule uncertainty that rockets sometimes have. They tend to delay a bit, they tend to have technical difficulties, so you have always this situation where they give you like a net time, where they're like, okay, it could launch on, I don't know, net 21st of June, but there might be more delays. But that is basically the earliest possible time where a rocket could launch. That's the situation right now. So I hope that answers the question. And there's also, of course, we have no later than, which means basically it has to launch by that, or they miss a window that cannot longer launch. Yada, yada. Speaking of missing windows, there is a window to get some of our metal prints that will leave the store very
later.
soon. Yeah, it's like a no
later
later than. We have a last chance situation right now going on where we kind of remove some of the metal prints from the store to make sure the store keeps always displays fresh new metal prints, and we have like a good selection. So we make space, and this is like the last chance to get one of these metal prints that are displayed right now on the stream. Of course, they also sometimes have pictures of the launch campaign of Ship 24 and Booster 7, like the static files and everything. So we make space for the next campaign to come up, hopefully very soon. This is going on until June 11th. Make sure to check out shop.nasaspaceflight.com before they're gone, because then they're gone and you will not be able to get them anymore. So that's the merch plug for today. Let's go back to the rocket, which is just 9 minutes away.
9 minutes?
9 minutes. The funny thing is, you say that with confidence, but I don't even have any idea from which movie that reference is from. So it's like I'm clueless. Jack at some point will watch this and be like very angry with me that I don't know this. That's an interesting question here by Trucker Nate. How much does one rocket cost to build? What an easy question to answer, Alex. How much does a Falcon 9 cost?
We don't know. That's sort of the answer. Yeah, so it is very complicated to actually tell precisely, because we are not privy of what SpaceX spends on these rockets. You know, there's been some numbers thrown around from Elon and from other folks at the company, things like that, but never, you know, some hard number or any way to actually back that up, to be honest, because it's like we are not really into all their financials or anything like that. It's fair to say that it's probably not more than like 30 or 20 million. It's probably around that for them, because otherwise they wouldn't probably launch some of the transporter missions, for example. When you add up all the revenue that they might make from those missions, you see that sometimes these missions accumulate for like 40 million or something across all the customers or something like that. So they probably don't make a lot of profit from those, but it might still make some profit to be able to keep launching those.
Yeah, it's quite complicated to answer, because of course you have all the situation where once you dive into reusability, it becomes far more complex. With the old rocket situation, you had this. It was kind of nice because you always knew, I buy one rocket, it flies, and you have to pay the cost for that. But the situation we have right now is with the reusable part of these rockets, how much of the costs are accounted for each launch, and how much do you gain with each launch? It's a hard to tackle question, and SpaceX is not eager to open their books so far and just give us an answer in how much they pay for each Falcon 9.
There's also, it's not just also the reusability, but also the cadence. When you talk about 100 launches, you can spread your fixed cost like way flat.
Yep.
It's something that you can spread very thin and basically don't spend a lot of money on those. And so at the end of the day, you get a few things here and there, but you don't really spend a lot.
It's complicated, and the answer is sadly we don't know, but it's a very long we don't know. Is it confirmed that 22 version 2 mini means that this is the highest payload mass for Falcon 9 ever? Do we know that, Alex? If this is like the highest mass ever launched by Falcon 9?
It depends, because if they are 800 kilograms per satellite, yes, but we actually don't fully know the exact number for that. Because yes, there are FCC filings talking about 800 kilograms, but those are sort of like for studies that they do for decays of the satellites and things like that. They put the Starlink V2 regular satellites as 2,000 kilograms. Well, we know it is not the case. They also put the other V1.5 satellites as 300 kilograms when we sort of think that it is 310, and those 10 actually matter because over 50 satellites or so that they launch of V1.5s, that is 500 kilograms more. And so that difference of, a little bit more here and there makes a lot of difference in the performance of the rocket.
There we go. We have a gifted Reti membership from, I think this means MacGyver, but without any vocals written. But thank you so much. I will not try to pronounce this. And also we have John Dupker coming in with $10 super chat and saying just morning, y'all. Good morning, John. And I hope you enjoyed with some nice rocket in a bit. Also, we have Mans on Mars with the 1999 super chat dollars. Thank you so much, Mans on Mars, and asking, Max and Adrian, if you were on the Eagle on Apollo 11, who would you pick as your co-pilot to land on the moon and why?
Are we allowed to pick from any astronaut in history or the current astronaut pool, or?
Yeah,
that's a tough question to answer.
Yeah, like who would you want to have on the moon with you? Something like, does anybody of you two have an answer to that? Because I don't. I have to think about this way more than I admit to. Like,
in terms of keeping I think in terms of sticking with the Apollo generation, of course, I think the default answer would be Neil, of course, but Neil Armstrong. But I think in terms of modern, like the current class of astronauts in the current batch, I would probably have to say Johnny Kim.
I will actually pick Matthias Maurer if I pick any astronaut ever like launching on a rocket, because I feel like A, he's a German, so I pick a German, and B, he seems very chill and having cool conversation with. So I would pick Maurer. By the way, I think at this point have to let Max run off to the camera because we are getting close to T0 here, and I just want to make sure you're ready for tracking when that hits. So see you in a bit, Max.
Yes, sir. I'll see you guys on the other side.
And with that, we're just 3 minutes away from T0 here of the Starlink 6-4 mission. Alex, what is happening in the next 3 minutes?
Yeah, so right now Falcon 9 is wrapping up the propellant load. I just heard the call out of stage 1 LOX load is complete, so the first stage is already fully loaded for flight with all the propellants, and now we're just waiting for the stage 2 LOX load complete on the second stage. So after that, we're gonna see a lot of venting from the Stromback and everything from that structure on the right of the vehicle. That is the purging and clearing of the lines ahead of the liftoff. And at T-1 minute, the ground computers will hand over control to the onboard computers on the rocket, and that is called usually the Falcon 9 goes into startup mode. So hopefully we'll see that happening. We won't actually see it visually, but we'll be able to tell once they go into the go portion of the flight as well. After that, the launch director gives the go for launch as well. So hopefully we will get into that in just a minute.
And I just noticed we have not even talked about recovery yet for this mission because it becomes so routine at this point. This rocket will try to land on, just read the instructions, which is stationed in the Atlantic Ocean. And this is the third flight for this booster. A relatively new booster, actually, for a Starlink mission. Of course, we had debuts before on boosters with Starlink missions. But this one has only flown 3 times so far and has launched the Crew 6 mission and the O3B Empower 3-4 mission. So yeah, only
Then you can see the purge
basically
vent.
booster, baby. Oh yeah, there you go.
That is from the end of the propeller load. Oh, there you go. Just
Yes.
read the instructions.
It needs new paint. It really needs new paint. It's
Yeah,
it's
a little
used at
bit.
this- Yeah, but the problem is if you paint it over, you need new paint probably like 2 launches later. No.
Yep.
It's hard to maintain. Just 1 minute, and we are just waiting now. Now the Falcon 9 is in startup, and the launch computer will take over from the ground computer. And we are just waiting for the go for launch from the launch director, which will come hopefully in a few seconds. And once we have that, this rocket will take flight. And awaiting the confirmation.
And go for launch.
There we go. So we have go for launch. You will probably not see the T-tab igniting the engines today because it's relatively bright out there. That's usually one perk of night launches. But I think you might be able to see some like deluge and everything coming from the bottom of the rocket before it ignites. So watch for that. That should start at like 15 to 10 seconds before launch, where you can see the deluge kicking in and making sure the water suppression is ready for the launch. Here we go. Watch for ignition. There's the deluge. There's ignition. And there is liftoff of Starlink 6-4 carrying 22 internet satellites for their LEO constellation. Let's hear and watch for the sound. Which is the moment of peak mechanical stress on the rocket, as it is already over 2/3 through with the first stage flight, or about 2/3 through. It will fly until 2 minutes and 30 seconds, where the first stage main engines will cut off in an event called MECO, and then both stages will separate, and the second stage will take over the flight, while the first stage tries to land on just read the instructions. So far, looking good, I would say, Alex, right?
Yeah, it's looking really nice. We see that expansion of the exhaust as Falcon 9 goes into thinner air. And I just heard the call out that MVAC engine chill is underway. That it means that the MVAC engine on the upper stage is getting ready for firing in just 30 seconds.
There we go. And we are in the final phases. At this point, the atmosphere is really getting thinner and thinner. The plume expansion is getting stronger and stronger. And we are just about 10 seconds away now from MECO. Looking like it's really like a very clear day for the fact that they had like weather and especially cloud concerns earlier in the forecasts. It's very bright, like very clear.
Yep.
And there's the MVAC, the old design of the MVAC. As we said before, this is not the new stubby design. And stage SAP and ignition of the Merlin vacuum engine. The vacuum optimized version of the Merlin engine. Ooh. That looks cool. You can see the booster.
That is
Kind
a
of-
really clear view.
Yeah, and you can see the booster in the exhaust of the second stage here, while it slowly glides away. And there's
Oh, the
fairing.
selfie.
Oh yes.
I think it is the selfie view. Oh no, it's from the base. Okay.
There's the 22 Starlink satellites, the Gen 2 or the version 2 satellites. There you can see the fairing, by the way, on the right camera view. That's the fairing going down as well. Will the fairing be recovered for this mission as well, Alex?
Yeah, so these are going to be recovered by Bob.
There we go. Recovery ship.
They are flying for a 6th time and a 9th time each half.
Wow. That's a lot of views on these fairings. And
Yep,
of course,
it is actually, I think it is the 3rd time they launch a fairing half that is flying for a 9th time. So it's already very common to rack up a lot of flights on these fairing halves. It's crazy.
and they are not
it's-
they are not cheap, right? They're very expensive hardware.
Yeah, Elon once said that each half is sort of like $3 million each, so it's very expensive. And if you think about it, they have actually launched more times than the booster.
True.
Because the booster, this is the 4th launch. So, the 3rd launch, excuse me. So yeah,
So the most flown part on this
It's the
rocket
fairing.
right now is a fairing. That's an
Mhm.
interesting stat. I love that. Max, how was the launch?
Oh, that was beautiful. Conditions were absolutely crystal clear, and we could track it all the way past stage separation. The wind has picked up though in the last like 3 or 4 minutes, but that did not impede on the viewing whatsoever. It was absolutely beautiful.
How's the weather forecast actually looking, Alex, for the Dragon mission later? Just to give like a preview on that. Do we know that?
well, I believe it was 60%. No, the other way around. It was 40% go, and 60% no go. So yeah, and there were also a little bit of a so the booster recovery weather is also with moderate risk as well. So we'll see what happens there.
There we go. So let's see. Maybe the general
That's for
trend.
the next launch,
Yeah,
not this one.
Of course, for the next launch. This one,
This one is
it should
already
be fine.
happening.
yeah, this one we covered from having an 85% no go to launching because it did that. And we are hoping to see another launch just in a few hours from now. And of course, what we also hope to see here very, very soon is the first stage entry burn, which where the booster tries to slow itself down from the very high speed it has right now and protect itself a bit against the re-entry heat and friction and everything you don't want to have on your booster. So it slows itself down very soon. We expect that burn actually to start in about 10 seconds. And once
Yep.
that burn starts, that's part of the recovering of this booster.
And you'll be able to see that, it is 1 engine first and then another 2 engines ignite, that is 3, and then the shutdown goes the same way. They shut down the other 2, and then the inner one. There you go. 1,
1,
3.
and there's 3. That was like, it's very visible. You can see
Yep.
how it went from like very cubic shape to like this line shape. It's very interesting. To
And the
see how-
shutdown is the same. Is
Yeah, very cool. And now the booster, of course, uses like aerodynamics and the grid fins and everything to steer itself to the drone ship, because
this is a cool part.
yeah, the part where we usually will very, very soon lose tracking because it's going through a lot of heat and even plasma building, right? Or is there no plasma on these boosters? There's plasma, right? And we lost the first stage. Not the first. We lost the camera. Sorry, we didn't lost the first stage. We lost the camera to the first stage. I'm very sorry.
You had me worried there, Adrian.
I'm
Goodness.
very sorry. That's when you don't watch your words. And the first stage landing burn begins at 8 minutes, so that's like 30 seconds from now. And so far everything looks
Yep.
good. When are the Starlinks deployed?
In about an hour.
Yeah, we won't be there for that.
Yeah. We can talk about that as soon as they go into orbit.
Yep, that's shortly after the landing.
Yep.
Landing should come up.
Look at those clouds.
Oh, that's looking
The
beautiful.
views from the second stage today are super clear.
Yeah, the front-facing one that shows the Starlinks, I think, also looks very, very cool. And there's the landing burn. There's the drone ship. You can see the griffins working and steering the booster here. Looks good. Now watch for the landing legs to deploy. There they are. Oh, that looks very centered. And touchdown. Touchdown of B10 78-4 now. You got a level up booster. So that part of the mission already a success, and we are just now watching for Seco 1, which is where the second stage shuts down, and then we wait for the call out of nominal orbit insertion. And then it was a successful mission so far.
There we
Seco
go.
1. You can see like really the engine like flexing a bit, right? Once it starts to cool down. Really impressive. So that looks good, I think.
Yeah, they just called out nominal orbit insertion because that was a good orbit for the second stage.
Can I steal Das' tagline here and say that was Das' favorite view on the launch? Because the launch pad was empty.
My favorite view is this one when the
yeah,
booster is on the landing pad.
It's not about like water suppression. Are they trying to make sure it's not burning?
Mostly to remove all the residuals and things like that, because it's nasty stuff.
And like RP1 is not great to breathe in, right?
Yeah.
There we
Nor
go.
is fire.
Fire is actually very bad to breathe in. That's very true, Max. Okay. Let's see. I have one more super chat here. I want to thank Smokeaway giving us $420 and saying cheers for another great launch. Thank you so much, Smokeaway. And with that, it is time to wrap our first stream of the day here. And before I give you a preview of what is to come, I want to thank Alex. Thank you, Alex.
Sure, and as you mentioned before, of the what's coming up next for this flight, the second stage is now into a coast phase that it is called, and it's gonna relight at apogee on this orbit, and then it's gonna circularize the orbit and deploy the satellites. But that's gonna be 50 minutes from now, and then 10 minutes later, it's gonna be the separation of the satellites. So it's a long way to go for that. We'll not be up for that.
Watch our social media and SpaceX social media for the coverage of that. And also I want to thank Max for rolling out today in the night, actually, and then watching a launch at day.
One down, one more to go, right?
Oh yeah, that's previews coming. And also I want to thank Patrick in the back channel, making sure everything looks great and also staying awake. Thank you so much, Patrick. And to just give you a preview of what you're about to see from NSF over the day, we will, once we wrap this up, watch for the next launch that occurs in just, let me look at the time, about 2.5 hours, I think, from now, right? Just making sure. Yeah, it should.
Yeah, it is in about less than 4 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, 3 and something.
Our
cannot look
CRS-28
it up
coverage,
right now.
and we will cover that as well. We will make sure you're not missing that. That's a crew resupply mission to the International Space Station. And if you have any questions about that or want to see anything more about that, make sure to tune into that as well. And later today, we also have another episode of NSF Live coming to you. So you have 3 streams today of NSF that you can watch to, basically get your Sunday of space. And with that, I will throw you over to Space Coast Live, where you can watch this rocket on the pad. And I was Adrian Bile, and I thank you for watching. See you next time.